And this is why they operate like this. They operate by controlling what appear to be sides and antagonists in the five sense reality, but in fact it's just a movie. It's part of a game pushing the agenda for Orwellian control. This is what I'm talking about with that image earlier. These people, they might appear to fight in the movie, but actually they're controlled ultimately by the same force to the same end. And some of these will be the reptilian bloodline, some of them might not be. I think most of these probably are. But these are just puppets. Even they might be powerful puppets over people below them in the structure, but they're still puppets of the shadow people who are really calling the shots and deciding what goes on and what doesn't. And because of this genetic situation in the hybrid bloodlines of empathy, lack of empathy, because of the predominance compared with the general population of the reptilian brain genetics, they can do horrendous things that we couldn't even contemplate because we have empathy with the victims of our actions. They do not. Without that emotional consequence, there are no limits, and we see that on the news every day. Another coordinate, the way that we are manipulated through what are mind and emotional manipulation techniques. Problem, reaction, solution. It was a term I came up with years ago to describe something that is known as the Hegelian dialectic among people with, who like long syllables. And makes you sound really clever, you know. It would never make me sound clever, bloody hell. Crown Hill Secondary Modern. Third window on the left with the best view of the games period. That was me at school. Problem, reaction, solution. The highest official level of the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry is the 33rd degree, and it has this motto, Ordo ab chaos, order out of chaos. And it translates to me as problem, reaction, solution. It works like this. You want to change society in a certain way here. You know that if you announce that openly, you're going to get an adverse reaction from the people. Imagine if the changes that have happened since 9/11 in terms of the destruction of freedoms and civil liberties had been proposed without 9/11. What you do? We're doing. We're not. This is a fascist state. We're not having this. Oh well, no, we've got to have it because it's terrorists. You know, problem, reaction, solution. So you don't announce it openly. You at stage one create a problem. Terrorist bomb. I'm coming out. Terrorist bomb. I've got a wire loose. I read that in the Mirror once. He's got a wire loose. He said they're right. And you create a problem. Terrorist bomb, war, run on a currency, credit crunch, rising food prices. Anything that will allow you to offer the solution you want to change society. You then tell the people the version of the problem that you want them to believe, i.e. Bin Laden did this, Lee Harvey Oswald did this. And the pathetic mainstream media, instead of investigating the official version, just repeat it to the people, and the people at stage two are supposed to react, and most of the time they do. React with outrage, with fear, and they say, something must be done, this can't go on, what are they going to do about it? At which point, those who've covertly created the problem got that reaction, offer the solutions to the problems they have themselves covertly created. And those solutions are changes in society which advance the Orwellian state and the centralization of power, so the few can have more and more power over the many by this centralization of power. So if you look at the Second World War, these bloodlines were behind Soviet communism. They were behind the capitalist countries, or cartelist countries in truth, of the West, and they were behind, including America, and they were behind Nazi fascism, bringing Hitler to power. They then bring them in conflict called a Second World War. Massive problem. The Second World War in just a few years, and people were saying in their desperate state, something must be done, this can't go on. They were open to stop this, no more war. And so we got the solution, we'll centralize global power. So out of this came the European Union, that was justified too, let's trade instead of fight, which sounded good at the time, but actually that wasn't the agenda. The United Nations, and an explosion of centralization of power in banking and business and politics on a global level, justified by the problem. None of which would have happened had it not been for the Second World War, which these bloodlines funded, including the Bush family. George Bush's grandfather, Prescott Bush, was one of the major conduits for funding Hitler through a company called the Union Banking Corporation that interfaced with the banking and steel empire of a guy called Fritz Thyssen in Germany, who was an acknowledged funder of Hitler. And through that, how does anyone think that Germany went from thousands of % inflation to a war machine that can take on the world in a few years because of outside influence and support, because they wanted that war? There's even another version of this now called no problem reaction solution, i.e. weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. You don't even need a real problem, you just need the perception of it. It's all a bloody mind game. And so when you look at 9/11, the official story is like something from Alice in Bloody Wonderland. It's a fairy story. And all these anomalies come up. And anomalies come up for a simple reason. Cover stories aren't true. There must be anomalies. This is Building 7 as it was falling, with the bloody blasts coming out as it came down like a controlled explosion. That looks like a controlled explosion to me. You know why? Why? Because it bloody was. That's why. This is typical. This is a BBC reporter who's reporting on 9/11 that Building 7 has fallen. It was in the shot behind her, right? It fell 20 minutes later. And then when you point this out, people say, so you're saying the BBC's in on the conspiracy? No, mate. I'm saying they let the press release out 20 minutes sodding early. That's what. That's why some other people in the media reported it 20 minutes earlier and all. It was orchestrated. Problem, reaction, solution. Yeah, jet fuel for all those buildings down. I love it. This is a picture by a guy called David Dees, who I think is in the audience today. David Dees. David Dees, you may see on my website and rents.com and stuff, does these extraordinarily brilliant compilations of images to make mighty statements in one image. And anything you see like this is a David Dees image today. The one earlier with the Clinton and McCain and Obama was one of his, obviously, as well. This is another one. This is the bandana. They call them bandanas or something close to that. Headscarf to me. Anyway, this was found apparently at the scene of the crash of Flight 93 in Pennsylvania. There was hardly any bloody wreckage. As one person on the scene said, there was nothing you couldn't carry away the size of a telephone directory, and yet they found this headscarf, which in the official story was worn by one of the hijackers. Well, where did he end up? You don't seem to have found him. He's gone missing, but his headscarf survived. Did he demanifest? I mean, bloody hell. Bloody passports that are found next to Ground Zero, that have come out of a plane that firebombed a building. Bloody hell. Korans left everywhere. I don't know. Why don't they take them with them? I reckon they were the Islamic version of the Gideons. I think they did it. I think they did it. I blame them. bullshit. It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. And more people, even academics, left-brain academics, are looking at the left-brain version of this and saying, don't make sense, mate. And it don't. And this was a poster I found on the internet, which may be real or may be right. It looks real to me with the trees in the background. But on September the 11th, ask yourself, when history repeats, do we notice? It was the Nazis that burnt down the German Parliament building and blamed someone else to justify introducing the fascist state, in effect, in Germany. There you go. The war on terror is a war by terrorists to get us to succumb to the terrorists. Inside job. And more people are beginning to understand that. Hallelujah. And because they're creating problems which they can put solutions to, you find the same people turning up with the problem and the solution quite often. This is 1983. This is Donald Rumsfeld, who on behalf of the Father Bush-Reagan administration was going to meet Saddam Hussein to arrange the shipment from America of biological and chemical weapons to Iraq to use against the Iranians, and these were used against the Kurds. Oh, we've got to stop Saddam Hussein. He used chemical weapons against the Kurds. Yes, the buggers you gave him. This is how it works. Don't take my word for it. This is official documents. This is a report on the release of these documents in 2002, I think it was. Donald Rumsfeld, the US Defense Secretary and one of the most strident critics of Saddam Hussein, met the Iraq president in 1983 to ease the way for US companies to sell biological and chemical weapons, including anthrax and bubonic plague cultures, according to newly declassified US government documents. And then he says, they've got chemical weapons, stop Saddam Hussein, we must invade. He was on the board of this European engineering giant called ABB in 2000 when they sold nuclear technology to North Korea. When he became Defense Secretary in the Bush administration, he said, North Korea is a threat to the world because they've got nuclear technology. This is how it works. Create the problem, offer the solution. Then we've got this guy. This guy was pulled out of Saudi Arabia to front up the Mujahideen fight against the Soviet occupation of Afghanistan, funded by the Saudi royal family, by America, by Britain. The Mujahideen were taken to America to, as I've documented in books and other talks, to be trained in terrorism operations. The British military sent people to train them, and they then became the terrorists that we're supposed to give our freedoms away to fight. And a few years ago, well, actually very much more recently than that, maybe about a year ago, this guy, Zbigniew Brzezinski, who was the national security advisor in the Carter administration up to 1979, or 1980 actually, he admitted publicly that he had orchestrated to manipulate the Soviets to invade Afghanistan because he wanted to cause them a major problem, and then had they started to create the resistance to that invasion which caught the Soviet Union in that spider's web. Guess who the main person behind I'm against war Barack Obama is? Zbigniew Brzezinski. I want change. I wish you did, mate. I wish you bloody did. Another front man, another bullshitter, another person who's selling you a cover story. But so are the other two, mind. So are the other two. We have choice. We've got freedom. So what we're looking at is the secret agenda unfolding through history, and it's playing out a movie version of events. The past part of the movie we call official history, which is keeping us from what's actually happening. Another connection, or another coordinate in terms of the way we're manipulated to this end, I've called the totalitarian tiptoe. That's when you know you're going there, stage Z, and you're here, stage A, and you know that if you go in one leap, the change is going to be so much. People are going to say, what's going on? What's going on? Never mind Paris Hilton in the back of that car. What's going on? Because the change is so great. So what they do is tiptoe, tiptoe, tiptoe. And as a result of that, in steps, as big as they can get away with, but as little not to cause too much resistance and reaction, they go along the road that they want. That's how we went from a free trade area to the super state we call today the European Union. Stepping stones. And this poster I came across, very true. Fascism, you think it'll be this obvious. But it's starting to get that obvious to awake people, but to people who are not awake, it's not that obvious, because it's done in stepping stones. Although, increasingly, it's not the totalitarian tiptoe, it's the totalitarian sprint these days. Another coordinate. To create this situation where people are locked in this vibrational prison and are not decoding the vast range of frequencies they could, therefore opening their awareness, sell them a religion, or sell them something to believe. Might not be an official religion, bricks and mortar religion as my father used to call it, as long as it's a belief system. But the religions, of course, are the most obvious belief system. And once you take on a belief, that belief starts editing what you decode. And you start to enter a mind prison with the walls of the belief being the prison walls. This is a Neil Haig picture. These represent the different religions, and what they're doing is all worshipping the same God or gods in truth. The original religions of these ancient societies obviously went with the people as they located in other areas of the world. Indeed, it was a global society anyway. And it's based, the reptilian religions, if you like, are based on the moon and the sun, the moon goddess and the sun god, overwhelmingly. And they come in many and various forms. All these different religions are based on this same principle while claiming to be different. And these religions came out of these areas of the world that we have seen earlier, is where the bloodlines came out of to a very large extent. This area I've called the religion factory, because that's where most of the major ones came from. Out of this same area came Judaism, came Christianity, came Islam, came Hinduism, and goodness knows how many in between. And these religions, all based on sun and goddess worship and the reptilian gods, when you decode it, went with the bloodlines out across the world, taking this with them. And when they relocated in Rome to form the Roman Empire and the Roman Church, what we call Christianity, was merely the Church of Babylon relocated. That's why when you take the names away and all the rest of it, you find that Christianity in its structure and beliefs is a mirror of the Babylonian beliefs and religious structure. And so the religions again come into this same category, although the followers down here have no idea this is so. In the end, they all, and it's not just these four, this is all just symbolic of the structure, again lead into the same people. And they worship the same gods under different names without realizing it. And I have to say, it's the same with great chunks of what we call the New Age, which is based on the Eastern religions. Now, there's a lot of stuff in the Eastern religions about the nature of reality and vibrations and chakras and all this stuff. It's very, very good. But still, the whole basis of a lot of it is the same story. And when I was reading some articles recently by people who've researched this and indeed directly experienced it, and a lot of these mantras that are chanted in Sanskrit, the ancient knowledge of the Indian area, they translate some of them as giving yourself to the gods or God, giving yourself to the deity. And when you make that choice, that decision to give yourself to the deity, you make a vibrational connection, and the deity can suck you dry and control and take over your thought processes, because you've just given permission to. You've opened yourself to it. And these are other dimensional entities. And I have to find it strange that this is the New Age Jesus called Santana or somebody, and this is the Jesus as depicted in Christianity. Well, no one knows what Jesus looked like, and yet these two beliefs have come up with the same bloke. So, you know, the connections between apparently different religions are much more blatant than they appear to be. And in the end, they all lock into these other dimensional gods. Now, this is one key reason why, although there are many reasons. There's this phrase, very true: energy flows where your attention goes. When you focus on something, your energy starts to flow in that direction. When you worship something on a deep devotional level, you seriously focus your energy in that direction. So what happens when you're starting to focus your attention on different versions of the same gods under different names of the same God singular? Energy flows where attention goes. Christianity. Energy flows where attention goes. 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 It's another way that our energy is being milked and vampired by giving our power away energetically, literally, to external gods or a god as we perceive it. The energy is all coming in the same direction, and the two-way flow of influence is coming in the same direction. And my goodness, if you want to focus people on a low vibrational energy, which you can then absorb, how about that for a symbol on which to focus? I saw 9 of these in a church once, 9 of them. Someone being tortured. What are we doing? And of course, and what you get then is the next level of this use of religion in manipulation. In each religion is fighting for its own predominance as the only religion. Dominate, chosen people. Again, the caste system in the Hindu part of the world, they say they're breaking it down now, but the caste system is a bloody unbelievable racism. And I have to say this: don't support the caste system and talk to me about racism. Thank you very much. And then you've got Christianity. Only through believers in Jesus can you get to heaven. Mr. 10%. Now, only through another form can you get somewhere. And I control that form, so hey, here we go. It's the same gods that we're feeding. They set up these religions, and their puppets did. At the highest level in the religions, they know this. So the rest of the pyramids don't. The idea of religions is to lock people in a belief system that cuts out all other possibility. No, don't talk to me about that. No, I believe in Jesus. No. Well, just have a look at it and then see what you think. No. And that then locks you in to a digital tunnel vision. And the other way that religions are used is divide and rule. And it's all based on the sun-moon religion, the same sun-moon religion. In Babylon, they had a trinity of Queen Semiramis, also known as Ishtar or Istar, Nimrod, the sun god, she was the moon goddess, and Tammuz, who was the virgin-born son of Nimrod and Semiramis. And they said that Semiramis was impregnated by Nimrod as the rays of the sun and gave birth to Tammuz, who was a reincarnation of Nimrod. Now, out of that little lot, you've got the Christian religion. Virgin birth of the Son of God, and Father and Son are one. Semiramis, this is in Iraq today, in Babylon, in Iraq today, the rebuilt Ishtar Gate. She was the goddess of Babylon. And you can see her everywhere. This is an original Babylonian relief depiction of the Babylonian goddess, and she was very much associated with the symbolism of the owl. And as these bloodlines and their religions expanded out into the rest of the world, they started to take different forms, but the same basics, foundation of the religions was the same. No surprise, therefore, that when you go to the Vatican and Rome, which was the Church of Babylon relocated, it is a mass of Babylonian symbolism, because that's the basis of their religion. So when they moved to Rome and created the Roman Church, Christianity, they took all the attributes that were given in Babylon to Queen Semiramis, Queen of Heaven, Virgin Mother, all the rest of it, and they gave them to Mother Mary. Because what they did was they changed the Babylonian trinity of Nimrod the father god, Tammuz the son, and Semiramis the goddess. When they moved to Rome, they made it the Lord God, God Almighty, in other words, Nimrod. The Son of God became Jesus, and the third point became the Holy Spirit, which they symbolized, because they took the goddess out of it, which they symbolized as a dove, which is the symbol that the Babylonians used for Queen Semiramis. So this is why there is the Babylonian depiction of Semiramis and Tammuz, and this is a Christian church. Same again. This is a picture I took last Christmas in Rome when I was there for a television program, and that appears to be Jesus and Mary. Actually, it's Semiramis and Tammuz under another name. This is Isis of Egypt, and Horus, the virgin-born son of Egypt. Again, it's just another version of Semiramis. You find them everywhere. And so Isis and Horus become Jesus and Mary. And all over the world you find this same mother and virgin-born son or child religion. And it's because it comes from the same source, controlled by the same force. This is an ancient depiction of Semiramis with the points in her head here. And here's the Statue of Liberty, which is Queen Semiramis. It was given to New York by French Freemasons in Paris who knew exactly what it really symbolized, and it weren't bloody liberty. Again, just Queen Semiramis. On top of the Congress building, you've got the goddess of freedom. Same bloody woman, or same symbol. The goddess of the French Republic, same thing, Semiramis. As the bloodlines moved up into Europe and France, they took it with them. This is the goddess Columbia, relating to America and Washington, D.C. and stuff. Same. And then we come to Nimrod, who was also known as Baal and Bel in different aspects. And Nimrod was the sun god of Babylon. And his symbol was the lighted torch or the flame. Same as Tammuz, because Tammuz and Nimrod were one, father and son, as I said. And so we've got Queen Semiramis holding the flame of Nimrod, standing on a symbol of the sun god. Isn't it great to have the Statue of Liberty as a symbol of our freedom? This is in Paris. Same, because the source is the same. This is the symbol of the torch held by the Statue of Liberty, and that's where, right on top of the Pont d'Alma tunnel, where people take their tributes to Diana, who died just underneath. This is another depiction of Nimrod in the ancient world. He was also the fish god. Again, Jesus, the fish. And he had the fish head hat. This is a depiction, actual depiction from Babylon, and that's why we have the mitre in the Pope, because it's the Church of Babylon relocated. And the obsession with the obelisks all over the place is the penis of Osiris, the penis of Nimrod, the bloodline symbolically. And these symbols are not just there, oh, we'll put them symbols there because it's funny that they don't understand. Symbols represent what they symbolize energetically and vibrationally. And this is a science called cymatics, where what they do is they have bits of, not sand, but that kind of stuff. And then they play sound across them. And what happens is all these different bits and pieces then form into these incredible symbols and geometrical symbols as the sound plays. And once the sound stops, they all go back to the kind of mess. And then you change the sound and they'll form another pattern. And it goes both ways. Everything goes both ways. So a symbol will represent a sound, and you can create the symbol with a certain sound which forms that symbol. But the symbol itself generates the sound. They're both ways. So these symbols are all around us. They're affecting the energy fields that we interact with. That's why they use them. That's why they have street plans to these symbols and buildings and stuff. Nimrod, you find Nimrod again used in the modern world all the time by the people who are behind this knowledge. You have Nimrod aircraft and all that stuff. And then we come to Tammuz, Jesus. Same thing, this is Horus. All these sons of God are the same Babylonian virgin-born son under different names. This is the way the Egyptians depicted Horus, and this is Jesus. The halo around the head was the way the ancients depicted that the person was a sun god. Here's the Jesus halo. Well, this is an ancient standing stone of Bel, the sun god, with a halo around his head, depicting he's a symbol of the sun. This is Mithra, another ancient son of God figure. The story that they tell of him is just the same as the one they tell of Jesus, in great detail. These is two others who are different versions of the same story. Dionysus of Greece and Bacchus of Rome. Dionysus was born, this is long before Christianity, was born of a virgin on December 25th, and as the Holy Child was placed in a manger. He was a traveling teacher who performed miracles. He rode a triumphal procession on an ass. He was a sacred king killed and eaten in a Eucharistic ritual. Dionysus rose from the dead on March the 25th, Easter. He was a god of the vine and turned water into wine. He was called King of Kings and God of Gods. He was considered only begotten Son, Savior, Redeemer, Sin-bearer, Anointed One, and the Alpha and Omega. He was identified with the ram or the lamb. He was hung on a tree or crucified. These people are all over the ancient world. It's just a recurring story. It's a story of the sun god. Symbols of the sun, not real people. The rising sun was a symbol used for Nimrod, Tammuz and Horus. So Jesus, Christ has risen. Jesus is the light of the world. Revelation, behold, he is coming with clouds and every eye will see him. He walked on water. The sun. And so you'd expect in the home of the Babylonian church in Rome that you'd have the same symbolism. This evergreen tree, symbol of Nimrod in Babylon, that's an original obelisk from ancient Egypt in front of it. This is above the chair of St. Peter. The sun and the dove, Semiramis, in the middle of it. There's sun symbolism all over the place. Again, the sunburst in the dome. In the other religions, you find, this is Mormonism. These are the symbols you find around the Mormon temple in Salt Lake City. The sun, the rising sun. This is from Ur in what is now Iraq, was Babylon Sumer, from about 2000 BC, and it is a symbol of the sun and moon goddess of that area of Mesopotamia. This today is the international symbol of Islam. You go into the other areas of the world, you find the same sun god, moon goddess. They're the same religion, and they get their followers to feed the energy into the same gods that have created those religions. Vampiring that energy, closing the mind, creating a prison, dividing and ruling. Which brings us to secret societies, and of course religions are against secret societies, except another coordinate. The secret society network and the religions worship the same gods as each other. Guess who they are? This is the Eye of Ra, or the Eye of Horus, it's also termed. It's a massive symbol of the Illuminati, these bloodlines that sit atop the secret society network. That's why you have the all-seeing eye on the dollar bill, put there in the 1930s. It's the eye of CBS, Columbia Broadcasting. Columbia comes from a name meaning dove, Columba. AOL, the eye and the pyramid, from these corporations controlled by these bloodlines using the symbolism that the religions are based on. There is the rising sun in a Freemasonic lodge. There's the rising sun in the Vatican in Rome above one of the old popes. This is a picture taken inside a major Freemasonic temple in Boston, which I've told over the years I walked into with a few people, and there was no one there, so we kept walking and ended up in this bloody temple. It was like the Mary Celeste. Took these pictures. There you go, the rising sun. And this is a building just down the road from the White House. It's the Supreme Headquarters, the 33rd degree of the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry, and there's the rising sun again. And these are the same symbols you find in religion. Washington's chair. This is above the door of Downing Street in London. The rising sun. CBS News logo, rising sun. Side of that Boston Freemasonic temple, the sun. This is the Mother Lodge of Freemasonry in London, which was the base from where Freemasonry was introduced into the new United States and the colonies, and it's in Great Queen Street in London. Great Queen is an old name in Babylon for Queen Semiramis, and so the state of Virginia was not created or named as a result of the Virgin Queen Elizabeth. It was the Virgin Queen of Babylon, Semiramis. So you've got the secret societies and the religions both worshipping the same gods while thinking they're all different. And it's possible because of this structure where all roads lead to the same few. That's how Freemasonic and other secret societies structure themselves. Most Freemasons are down here. They never get up here. And up here is not the end for the chosen few. Because the secret societies we hear about feed into another pyramid, the chosen few, the bloodline few, into the Illuminati pyramids, which are also fiercely hierarchical. And that's where the real deal is in terms of control. You can also symbolize the structure as a spider's web, with a spider in the center and different strands, different organizations, different secret societies. The closer to the spider you are, the more elite the secret society. The further out from it you are, you start to hit the organizations that directly interact with mainstream society. Somewhere here might be the Bilderberg Group. Further out might be the Council on Foreign Relations and stuff like that, which are acknowledged to exist in America. But the real deal is here, which just dictates the policy down the spider's web. One of the secret societies near to the spider is the Jesuits. The Jesuits, which connect into the Church of Babylon, of course, in Rome, started by Ignatius Loyola in the 16th century. They call themselves the Illuminated Ones. Adam Weishaupt, who started a version of the Illuminati called the Bavarian Illuminati in 1776, or he was the frontman for it, was trained as a Jesuit. You find that over and over. It was the Jesuits that led the conquest of places like Africa and further afield for the colonies that followed. Many of the people, significant people in the world, Clinton there and Mugabe and George Tenet, head of the CIA at the time of 9/11, are Jesuits or Jesuit trained. This is the new guy at the head of them, Adolfo Nicolas. He's known as the Black Pope and has more power than the real one. The Knights Templar and the Knights Hospitaller of St. John of Jerusalem, ancient secret societies, the second one's now known as the Knights of Malta, they lock into this structure pretty close to the spider, and they manipulate events behind the scenes so the right people get the positions of power, the right decisions are made, the right legislation is introduced. And it's the Knights Templar, there's their symbol at the heart of the City of London logo, held by the reptile figures, they control the city of London to a very large extent. This is their original Templar church made famous by the Da Vinci Code, and just down here somewhere was where the Blairs were trained as lawyers. And again, they also have massive influence, the Templars, in the Temple area of London, which controls law, not just in Britain, but much further afield. Another coordinate, the Illuminati and the secret societies connect into what we call Satanism. They're just different faces on the same network. This structure connects into the satanic ritual structure and helps to cover up and stops it getting into the public arena on the scale that it could. They have been doing these rituals to their gods for thousands of years, and so why is it a surprise that the people who are the bloodlines today do the same rituals as their ancestors always did? People like Dracula exist. Certainly they existed with this guy, Vlad Dracul, Vlad the Impaler, on which Dracula was based. He was a bloodline from the area we now call Romania, and these people are not just energy vampires, they're blood vampires. They drink human blood. These bloodlines have always done this, and they still do it. People you see on CNN. A direct descendant of Vlad Dracul's sister is Mary of Teck, who's the grandmother of the present queen. This is from a B movie, but these things exist, these rituals involving kids, these sacrificial rituals. The scale of child abuse and child torture in satanic ritual and child murder is staggering. But because of the structure, where the power structure locks into this, it's covered up and not allowed into the public arena, and it's not investigated. All through history you have had the sacrificial ritual, more than a few times connected to the demands of the dragon that the sacrifice be made to the dragon. This is a dragon in Slovenia, which is from a story there of the dragon demanding that young children be sacrificed for its benefit. And these rituals that they do, this is from the movie Eyes Wide Shut, which was very accurate in the way it portrayed what was going on and what is going on. They use these rituals. I've talked to many people who've taken part of them or observed them, to create an energy environment in which these interspace plane entities actually manifest in the ritual, in the circle, in the energetic structure that these rituals create. And the reason they're doing the same rituals in the same way now as they've done for thousands of years is because those rituals have an energetic reaction that they're looking for. So of course they're going to keep doing the same ones. Bohemian Grove in Northern California, 2,700 acres of redwood forest, are another more famous place where these people meet to do their strange rituals. This is the 40-foot stone owl, Semiramis symbolism, which they do their rituals to at Bohemian Grove. And we're talking the Bushes, the presidents, the leaders of the transnational corporations, the Rockefellers, all these elite families that dictate society on all levels are taking part in these rituals to this bloody owl, Semiramis. There you go. And this is why the road system around the Congress building in Washington has the Congress building in its belly, and it breaks up into an owl. Semiramis, or the bloodlines of Semiramis, controlling American politics. I mean, how much symbolism do you want? Now, I drew the lines here to make it look like an owl around the road system, but here's one that hasn't been touched. It's an owl standing on a pyramid in the road system of Washington. And these are the kind of people that end up at Bohemian Grove. Molech is another name they use for that owl. This is a Bohemian Grove picture in the 1950s. Glenn Seaborg, who gave the world plutonium. Cheers, Glenn. Nice one. And here is a B-movie actor. Here is a career politician, as became Tricky Dicky Nixon, and Ronald Reagan, 1950s, both very different people from very different backgrounds, both go on to be presidents of the United States because they're selected, not elected. And like I say, the sacrifice of humans and stuff has gone on for centuries, and it's still going on. That's the point. And you see it around you, amazing things. Like this is Sydney, Australia. This is a Sydney official memorial to the war dead in the First and Second World Wars. What's that? Someone being sacrificed over the sun. They know what it means. You get this symbol in Satanism for the devil, for the evil force. People say, "Oh no, it's the sign for love in sign language." No, that's with the thumb out. With the thumb not out, it's the sign of the horn god. And so you see it in Satanism, and so you see it all the time among these people too. Now they say, oh no, that's the sign of some football team, Longhorns in Texas it is. Well, does she support the bugger then? Do these support it? Does he? Amazing the number of times that turns up. So, the agenda today. Where we are. It's reached a point where there's another coordinate we need to address. The goal is a centrally controlled global fascist dictatorship. That's what they want. Everything that Orwell talked about in 1984 and then some. And this is the structure they want. A world government that would make all the major decisions in the world. A world central bank which would control global finance. A world currency which would not be physical money. Eventually it would be all electronic, for which there are massive implications for freedom. A world army which would replace national armies that would impose the will of the world government. And a microchip population linked to a global computer. When I first said that 10, 12 years ago, hilarious. Not anymore. Under that they want 4 superstates. The European Union, already well advanced. The American Union. The North American Union is very close now of Mexico and the United States and Canada, although they ain't telling the people that. The Pacific Union, involving the Australia and the Pacific countries, and the African Union, which is already, of course, in existence. And what this is a structure to centralize power into the hands of the few and take it away from the many. And to turn the people into microchipped, barcoded zombies. And of course, we wouldn't allow that, except that we have, and this is China today. The computer can be programmed to do that if we detach ourselves from consciousness and allow it to happen. And it's all possible because of this structure of pyramids within pyramids and the shadow people that control those in power that come and go. And behind it all is this, and then something beyond that. This creates or instigates this to hide that's going on. So the superstate agenda. Of course, like I said earlier, if you want to control the many and you're the few, you have to centralize decision making. So that's what the European Union, all that stuff is about, and the North American Union, that structure. And how interesting that this circle of stars is a Babylonian symbol for the goddess. That's why you have the 12 stars around the head of Isis. That's why you have the 12 stars around the head of Mary in some depictions. It's a symbol of the goddess, and it's the symbol of the European Union. Another name for the goddess is Europa, of course, from which Europe came. Nimrod was symbolized as a bull, and Europa, the goddess, in that way. 2005, the European Union had this commemorative coin produced of Europa and the bull, Semiramis and Nimrod. This guy, Otto von Habsburg, one of these bloodlines, big time, is behind the Pan-Europa movement. This is their symbol, which created the European Union as it's become and instigated it from the start. And the idea, these are maps that have come out of the European Union, is to break up countries, including this one, same with the United States and Canada, they want the same, and around the world, into different regions to de-unify in a unified response to the dictatorship at the center, the European Union. And that's why they're breaking up Britain into different regions in their maps, which are connected into other regions of other countries, and you're de-unifying the authorities and the orchestration of those countries. They want this become the American Union. They're already starting to organize the road system to take goods from the Mexican ports up in through America, into Canada, turn it into one union, just like Europe. And this is another thing. The reason they're opening borders and allowing people from all different countries to come into other countries, and indeed go the other way, why there is in many areas no Mexican border with America anymore, why there is a great movement of peoples into other countries, is behind all this. And that's not racist, because those coming in and those affected by those coming in are both victims and pawns of the same force. We need to understand that. If you want to break countries up, I mean, let me say where I'm coming from first of all. I was born in Britain because if I wasn't born on a piece of land, I would have drowned. Simple as that. I don't care. I'm infinite consciousness like everyone else. I ain't British. It's just an experience. I ain't into all that stuff. But a lot of people are, and fair enough. Good luck to them. And while there is an identity of a country and a culture, that is a resistance to allowing your country to be broken up into the system that they want. So what they're doing is opening borders to bring in and cross-match people all over the place, to break down. It's all systematic. We might agree with it, we might not agree with it, but it's systematic where it's coming from. To break down a sense of culture, to break down individual culture, to break down a resistance to that structure, that sovereignty, that culture being broken up. It's being systematically done. They'd have never got away with this years and years ago, but now we've got all this movement, now they can get away with it. I keep reading articles, what is it to be British anymore? That's the idea, that's what they want to bring about, because then people will say, well, there's no country anymore, there's no culture anymore, they might as well change it, don't matter. And they're doing that in America and all over the world today. It's total cynicism of the way it's done. Now, it's kind of funny. Some of the people on the left in politics kind of dismiss what people like me say about a conspiracy, and they say there is no conspiracy to create an Orwellian state. It's rubbish, you're mad, you're stupid, all the rest of it. And the next thing they do is they pick up a banner and they say, stop globalization, stop globalization. What do they think globalization is? Globalization is the centralization of global power in every area of our lives. It is the agenda I'm talking about unfolding before our eyes. These different protests need to just come together and realize they're protesting against the same force and the same agenda. And it's an agenda for the centralization of power in every area of our lives. The World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, all these things are just pawns and creations of these bloodlines to control from the center, to create a situation where no one has independence of maneuver in their own sphere of influence or community. It's about cross-matching dependency, so this can't operate without dependency on that, and that can't operate without dependency on that. Dependence. Dependence equals control. Independence equals choice equals freedom. That's why they want to take independence away. That's what globalization is. That's why they move jobs from one country into another country and move other jobs over here. They move this over there. It's making everyone dependent on everyone else. Free trade. Love it. Wouldn't it be great if we had free trade? Free trade. Freedom to exploit trade. That's what it should be called. It allows transnational corporations to make things in sweatshops in one part of the world in horrendous conditions on horrendous wages and then ship them across. No border taxes increasingly because it's globalization and it's free trade, and then they sell them to people with the money, and they make on both ends of the deal. That's what free trade is. We don't have capitalism. Anti-capitalist. I'm not anti-capitalist. We don't have capitalism. We have cartelism. That's what we have. And then you hear, to a certain extent, the anti-globalization movement. It says, no, there's no conspiracy. It's just big, bad, greedy corporations. Yeah, controlled by the same people. The corporations are not the origin of globalization, they are the vehicle for it. And it's all leading outside of the holographic reality to this. Homeland security, military dictatorship. This is Hitler proposing the creation of the Gestapo in Germany. An evil exists that threatens every man, woman and child of this great nation. We must take steps to ensure our domestic security and protect our homeland. I heard that somewhere before, more recently, didn't I? I think so. So, more cameras. And these cameras are not for surveillance of the general population. That's not what they're really going in there for. General population, working through the left brain, hey honey, Paris Hilton's on, all that stuff, they're no problem. No problem at all. This is for people who are waking up. So this is in London. This was after the bombings in London. They produced this poster for the London transport, secure beneath watchful eyes. In other words, surveillance, surveillance. We're protecting you from the terrorists. And this is from Germany in the 1930s. Same bloody poster in effect, and the same motivation. And I got sent this one, stands back in amazement. This is Sheffield Bus Station, right? Sheffield Bus Station in England. Spit and run, you'll still get caught. Every bus, tram and interchange has DNA testing kits. Spit at the staff and you can be traced and prosecuted, even if we don't know what you look like, and your records will be in the National DNA Database forever. What? I'm dreaming I'm going to wake up. Every bus, tram and interchange has DNA testing kits. They're now getting people who get the rubbish to look through it, to see what you're doing with your rubbish. And then now we've had traffic wardens turned into civil enforcement officers. I don't know if I told you this, but I will. I got told, I got sent a letter by a traffic warden a few months ago now, actually a few weeks ago, but it happened to him a few months ago. And he's a traffic warden, he's been traffic warden for a long time in England. And one day in the last few months, he was called in by his boss and he was given out 3 new cards. And one of the cards was giving him authority to be a traffic warden, fair enough. The second card was what they call the PACE card. This is the words that a police officer has to say to when he arrests someone. You don't have to say anything, but if you don't say it, all that stuff. And the other card was the right for this traffic warden to enter property. And so this is a nice guy. He said to the boss, "What are you doing? What's all this? I don't want these. What's this? No, job of traffic warden, I take tickets." And he was told, just take them home, put them away, and until further notice. A few days later, an old friend of his who's a policeman is walking out the police station with this briefcase, and there's a few traffic wardens together, and he came over and he chatted away. And then as he was leaving, the policeman called his mate over, the traffic warden who wrote to me, and he said, look, he said, about 3 or 4 times he said this in the conversation, don't tell anybody, but you're my mate, I want to tell you this. He said, I've been working in this county and there's someone like me in every other county, and we are preparing for a war that's coming. And they're expecting great civil unrest when this war happens, and the military and we, the police, will be at the front line of dealing with the unrest, and people like you, traffic wardens, CCTV camera operators, private security firms, will be brought in to do the jobs that police are doing. And it was a few weeks later that I picked up the paper and I saw that traffic wardens were being redesignated from traffic warden, just traffic, to civil enforcement officers. This stuff is building so fast. And now they want us to tell on each other. Report your friends and suspicious behaviour. I've got a mate, he went to that David Icke bloody website. Yeah. And what they're doing is they're offering money for people to do it. That must be worth £5. There you go, how to tell if there's a terrorist in the airport. There you go, no problem. Piece of cake. So now we're having surveillance on the internet, shut up, all this stuff, free speech zones, I love that, how Orwellian. And what it's about, oh God, I could talk all night, oh God, the time. What it's about is basically turning humanity into the same situation that you have with laboratory rats and mice, where you have them in a maze, and when you go down certain channels of the maze, they get a shock. When they've been shocked a few times, you can take the electrical equipment out, and that mouse or rat still won't go down that, because he's been manipulated and programmed not to go down there through resistance. And all the time now, we're being told, don't do this, can't do that. Your rubbish is 4 inches too high in your rubbish bin. You go to court. Oh, you've dropped an apple core. Call the police. All this stuff. And I'm not exaggerating. These things are happening. And it's all about bang, 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 bang. All these things. And it's about programming the laboratory rat, as they see it, into conforming through not wanting to meet the resistance, into acquiescing to this agenda. Sod that. And the taser gun is classic. Of course, when they said, oh, the taser's only going to be given to trained fire officers, I thought, yeah, here you go, pull it, here you go. Then this one. And of course what they're doing now is they're saying, well, they're going to give them to all police. Of course they are. They were always going to totalitarian tiptoe. And what these are to put the police in a different state. All these stories about people dying when they're hit by these things, people say, oh, that's bad for the taser. No, it's not. It's good for the taser. Because once you realize you can die if you're hit by this stuff, or it's a horrible experience, suddenly the policeman has great power over you. I remember one headline when these tasers came out, and someone saw them at work, and the headline was, I'll do whatever you say, officer, just don't use that thing on me. That's what this is all about. Some idiot in a uniform. He's got 2 brain cells to rub together, but he's got a bloody taser, so people do as he says. And then we've got political bloody correctness, another coordinate. That ain't about human rights. That's about taking them away. On my website, I do a lot of stuff at the moment about what's going on in Canada. And some people have said, oh, why do you do so much on that? Because it is an absolute epitome of the way they want every society to be. What is happening is that people are being stopped from saying things if they upset or could upset others or could open people to ridicule and all that stuff. Well, soddy now, most of the bloody British media should be arrested if they're bloody opening people to ridicule. But anyway, but what's happening? And people say, well, that's good. Well, it's not good. Because, you know, if you don't like people having an opinion about you, well, you know, it's too bloody bad, really. Too bloody bad, you know, get over it. That's all it is, a few bloody words in someone else's opinion. They might even be wrong. They have a right to be wrong, because if we don't allow people to be wrong, someone's deciding whether they're right or wrong, and we've lost our freedom, mate. So get used to it. Now, what's happened in Canada is that Muslims and Jewish people and stuff like that have taken people to this Human Rights Commission, all that stuff. But what they don't realise, some gay activists have done the same, what they don't realise is that the same laws apply to them. So now there's a thing in Canada, for instance, where a woman has taken a gay club to the Human Rights Commission for breaching her human rights, for not allowing her in, because it's a gay club for men. Right? So what it's doing, if you look at it, is not protecting human rights, it's using different elements of minorities to take other people's rights away. And so they're cross-referencing again, and everyone's taking everyone else's bloody rights away under political correctness. People say, oh, you can't call someone a cripple. Well, hold on a second. I've got an arthritic hand. The only thing I can do is press a key and type my books, or press that, right? It's crippled. It might not be a modern word, but it's crippled. Tell me it's crippled. Why? Because it is. I mean, let's get over it, for goodness sake. I'm going to take Manchester United to the Human Rights Commission for breaching my human rights in not allowing me to be in their first team. Because it is breaching the human rights by discrimination over someone with a hand they can't do anything with. But that's the ludicrous level it's getting to. And it's not to do with freedom and the rights of minorities. It's to do with destroying everyone's bloody freedom. I love this. This is what it's getting to. I love that. This is where we are now. I love that bit at the bottom. Also, the bridge is out ahead. War is peace. This is all Orwellian language, of course. And it's all to do with that. Who's in your head? What they're doing is programming the computer. That's what the microchip's about. In a desktop computer, the central processing unit, the brain of the computer, is a microchip. Once you get a microchip into this body computer, you can start to affect its mental and emotional processes and its energetic state. That's why they want people microchipped. Yes, on one level it's about electronic tagging, but it's about much more than that. It's about, once you get a microchip inside you, that microchip can be manipulated from afar and can affect you individually or en masse and manipulate the way we think or don't think and emotionally. Say no to the microchip under every circumstance possible, and they're much smaller than this now. The media are constantly programming the computer, programming the kids increasingly. Read this article about the effect on minds of computer games and stuff, and the way they stop the mind thinking. Exactly. Obey, here we go. And that all affects the reality that we create. The hypnotists on the news and the television, they're all working to the same thing. And then we get computer access, as I call it. I do hope you don't think I'm going on too much, because I want to get as much as I can in here. I mean, I could talk all Sunday night, but we do have a limit, unfortunately. Computer access, David D's photograph. All this shite that we're given to eat and drink, these chemical formulas, are reprogramming chemically, and therefore on every other level as it moves across, the body computer. Destabilizing it. Stopping it functioning properly. That's what it's about. All this stuff that we get. Aspartame. It's a brain aspartame. It's a brain suppressor. It excites brain cells and kills them. It affects the way we decode reality. They tell pilots not to have aspartame drinks before they fly in the military in America, because it affects their ability to fly, because it affects their brain state. And we're giving this in kids' drinks. Who brought it on the market? Donald Rumsfeld, head of Searle Pharmaceuticals, who sold out to Monsanto. That's how it got on through the processes of checking if it was safe or not, and they weren't followed, and it became a general public substance that is used all the time. Fluoride, same thing. brain suppressant, used in the concentration camps in Germany to suppress the inmates. Genetically modified food designed to genetically modify us. Monsanto, one of the major Illuminati corporations on the planet. Vaccines. 25 sodding vaccines for kids up to 2 years of age. Beam me up, Scotty, it's sodding mad down here. What are we doing? God, and I'm crazy. What it's doing is bombarding the immune system with poison. We're told it's brought an end to all these diseases. These diseases were in free fall before the vaccine was introduced. We have an antivirus system called the immune system. And when it's just in the process of forming, you are bombarding it with 25 versions of shite, poison, and then we wonder why it affects children's physical and mental state. But it's designed to do so. They don't want the next generation of children growing up with open, aware minds that can see through the bollocks. They don't want it. So get them early, shut them down. Craig Mitchell was telling me about how difficult it is, much more difficult he's found it is, to get people into that open aware stage in the shamanistic stream if they've been vaccinated. And then we have this war on the alternative to that, which is the food supplements and stuff like that, which is being attacked by this organization, Codex Alimentarius, who want to harmonize regulations on food supplements and vitamins. Harmonize. Centrally control, brackets, harmonize. And who started this codex, which is short for food code or food book? Fritz Termeer, the highest ranked scientist working for IG Farben in Nazi Germany that was behind the Auschwitz concentration camps, who did 7 years or sentenced to 7 years for war crimes, and thanks to the Rockefellers came out after 4 and then became chairman of Bayer, which was a constituent part of IG Farben. In the 1960s he started this Codex Alimentarius stuff, and now it's reaching a point where they want to harmonize it to the point where they're giving control of these supplements to the transnational drug corporations and to governments, so that we no longer have the choice even of using them. And it's all connected. Harmonization. Harmonization. That means this. International law. It's the new great buzzword we hear all the time. International law. What is international law? It's a law that everyone on the planet has to obey. If you want a global fascist centralized state, what do you need to impose that? International law. That's why it's being talked about all the time. We have this electromagnetic soup that we're living in. Even some of the mainstream newspapers are talking about this. All these sources of electromagnetic and microwave, these are some of the places that they hide these microwave transmitters and phone transmitters and communication transmitters. So we don't even know how many are really there, because not all the ones we see are all the ones that are. Tetramasts in Britain and such like. And this is what happened when purified water was used on a plant for 9 days and microwave water was used on the same plant for 9 days. I won't go into that, but the effects of these electromagnetic fog is affecting the pituitary glands and the pineal glands, which connect into psychic sight, other dimensional sight, third eye, and all this stuff. It all comes back to the same thing, closing people down. That's what it's about. The chemtrails, full of metals, which I believe, which are poured out into the sky. You see them crisscrossed in the sky. Everywhere I go in the world, I either see them or people tell me it's a regular occurrence. Even, I went to see Craig Mitchell near the Kalahari Desert. There were the bloody chemtrails going across the sky, pouring out, creating these crisscross. And contrails, which are the condensation trails coming out of planes, they disappear immediately because it's to do with heat and temperature. These, they hang about and then just get bigger and bigger over the sky, because they're not contrails, they're chemtrails as they're called, and they're full of crap, including metals. And I think, it's my view, I think they connect into this HARP operation in Alaska, and there's other expressions of this coming around the world as well. And what HARP is doing is bouncing radio waves off the ionosphere and back to the Earth, and they're basically creating all these things together, this micro reality world, energetic world, to try to disconnect us out there. And of course, if you want to affect all the fish, then the easiest way to do that is affect the sea. And then you've done it, and this is our sea, this energetic area that we're looking into to create that. And that's how it's possible. Now, I'll go quickly on this, but I've got to get through this before we have a break. This has taken over from 9/11 as one of the great excuses for changing society and scamming us for money and taking away choice and all the rest of it. The carbon con. The greenhouse effect. Carbon dioxide accumulates in the atmosphere, heat can't get out, planet warms up. For anyone that has not got it yet, I found this. There you go, it's really easy. Right. Okay. Global warming. Well, this is the guy behind it. Al Gore. You pick up different little understandings as you pass through life, and one of them I picked up a long time ago: if Al Gore's involved, it's a scam. That's a good one. There you go. He cares. He cares. You know, I mean, vice president in one of the most corrupt administrations, the Clinton administration in American history, and now he cares about the planet. Okay. Now, we have a lot of these agendas, like global warming, are supported now by these mass concerts. We have this Earth Day, and just being kind and caring for the planet. We have an Earth Day, Live Earth, Global Warming Survival Handbook from David de Rothschild. Thank you to the Rothschild family for that. Thank you very much. It must make their hearts sing that they're helping humanity so well. Now, computers. There's another kind of thing that people understand about computers. Shite in, shite out. Okay? So, that's summed up global warming for you. No. I'm not saying that the planet's not, the climate's not changing and all the rest of it. But it's always changed for a start. It just depends on what point of the cycle you pick it up. I read newspaper headlines. It's the hottest temperature since records began. Okay, when did records begin? 1862. What? That's 10 seconds away in weather cycles. Talking about, man. Well, he told me to put crap in. He wanted crap out. I gave him what he wanted, yeah. He's nice, Al Gore. Survive. Global warming, survival. Oh my God, the planet, our children, oh my God. Frighten them for survival, oh my God. And if they're frightened of surviving, they'll give their power away to people they think might help them survive. Give us your money, give us your carbon tax. Let's look at your foot. Hey, what's your footprint? There you go. Al Gore's got a company, you know, with a bloke called Blood. They call it Blood and Gore in the city. I think that's very appropriate. Selling carbon bloody things to people. Making bloody fortune out of this bloody carbon footprint crap. So look at this. Now, there is an influence on Earth temperature you might have come across. Right? I see it most days. And it operates in cycles of what are called sunspots, when it's churning out vast explosions of energy, solar radiation across the solar system. Some of them are as big as Jupiter. Most are as big as the Earth and much bigger. They come to the Earth and they affect the temperature. Stool stands back in amazement. Do you mean the sun, when it sends out heat, heats up? Yes, oh my God. Give the man a donut. And they go in cycles. Here's the sunspot cycle for recent times. And the other planets or some of the other planets are also warming up. So obviously the carbon footprint on Saturn needs looking at. Now what else could cause warming? Oh yes. Bloody hell. Now, let's go a bit further back, 1862. And let's go back to the medieval warm period, as they call it, around 800 years ago, when it was warmer than it is today. Now, what caused that temperature in the medieval times? Was it turbocharged handcarts? Could have been flatulent horses. Could be. Anything's possible when you're making it up. Dobbin's got the wind. I think we're in for a hot summer. And then we went from the medieval warm period, which was a time of great abundance, incidentally. It's when it gets sodding cold we have a problem. And it went down into what they call the Little Ice Age. And this is when they're picking up some of these things here, right, to where the temperature is now and saying, oh, since records began. This is the Little Ice Age, was when the Thames froze over and they had ice fairs on it. Still see it in Christmas cards and stuff. From the Little Ice Age, sunspot activity has been generally climbing, and the red is Earth temperature. I think there could be some connection. This is from 1860. Here's the sunspot activity, here's the Earth temperature. Now, in 1940, when carbon production, and I'm not in favour of all that stuff, I'm not in favour of pollution, I'm just saying it's not causing the stuff that they're trying to claim it does for their own ends. 1940, when carbon production was much less than it is now, the temperature fell, so did sunspot activity, till 1975, to the point where the BBC were running documentaries on the dangers of the coming ice age. In the 1970s they were. And then it started climbing again. And they picked it up, it's global warming. I saw this guy, Peter Taylor, talking in a presentation recently that I was at. And this guy is no, friend of the oil companies and all that stuff. He's a former advisor on pollution and energy policy to the national governments, the European Union and the UN, as well as lead advocate for Greenpeace on occasions. And this is what he says, because he's an open-minded scientist, right brain open. Behind the scenes, there is major disagreement among scientists. There's not this consensus. The debate is over. No, you want it to be over, darling. Parallel to carbon dioxide rising, the solar field has increased by over 200% since 1900, and this is not factored into computer models. Shit in, shit out. Global temperature is not rising as predicted. In fact, it fell a whopping 0.6 degrees over the last 12 months, he said, as much as it has gained in the previous 50 years. Many of the apparently random fluctuations of past temperature, like when the Vikings grew crops in Greenland, correlate to variations in the solar electric field. Between 1983 and 2001, cloud cover, according to the International Satellite Cloud Climatology Project, fell by 4%, more than enough to heat oceans and account for global warming. A spate of recent science shows that temperature oscillations are timed by solar cycles, that the jet stream is affected by the solar wind, and that past high and low points in the solar cycle correlate with past temperature swings. Got that, Al? And as he said, in recent years the temperature has actually been falling. Now we've got to explain this away, right? Global warming, survive, frightened. Temperatures are falling. All right, okay. Well, this was the Daily Mail headline on May the 1st this year. Global warming could stop naturally for 10 years, say scientists. Oh, really? I thought it was going to go up incessantly. And why are they saying this? Because underneath they're saying, oh yeah, but imagine how hot it's going to get when it goes up again. Making it up as they go along because it's not true. There you go. Global warming. Climate is changing, climate's always changing. And what we should be doing is looking to get the benefits of climate changing and to mitigate the downside instead of getting diverted into all this crap. But we're supposed to get diverted into it because it's the agenda. It's the agenda in the virtual reality game. And so, as we end this section, everything is upside down. Doctors destroy health, lawyers destroy justice, universities destroy knowledge, governments destroy freedom, major media destroys information, religions destroy spirituality. Why? Because they are meant to do so. And it's not people around the table. They're still at the level of playing it out. It's not even reptilian bloodlines. They're still at the level of playing it out. It's not even the shadow people behind them playing it out. It's not even the other dimensional reptilians playing it out. What's the next stage? What's behind that? I don't know, but I'll bloody find out before I leave here. And how deep does the rabbit hole go? I've no idea, but I ain't there yet. But I'll be here in 35 minutes. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.